Welcome back to another episode of 40 Facts About the 40k Universe. I am your host, Gershwan, and you are watching One Mind Syndicate. Today we continue talking about the lore of the Blood Angels and the lore of the Tyranids, as we get into the Cryptus campaign and the defense of Baal. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. We post Warhammer 40k content every single day, and then we also have a huge archive of lore videos. So check out our channel. Your lore suggestion might be in our archives. But with that said, let's get into 40 facts on the Blood Angels versus the Tyranids. In the 41st millennium, High Fleet Leviathan was the third and largest Tyranid incursion into the Milky Way galaxy. For years, Lord Commander Dante had been fighting the tendrils of High Fleet Leviathan as they wormed their way ever deeper into the Imperium. When the Xenos shadow fell upon the Blood Angels' home sector, Dante realized that it would be but a matter of time before the Tyranid invasion fleets reached the chapter's homeworld of Baal. To counter this threat, or at the very least blunt the edge of the alien assault, Dante set about shoring up the defenses of the sector and dispatching his brothers to help the Imperial worlds turn back or destroy the Tyranids. Among these shield systems was Cryptus. By the time the Blood Angels arrived in system, the Krypton shield worlds were already embroiled in desperate last stands against the teeming swarms of the High Fleet. Outnumbered many times over, the Blood Angels nonetheless readied themselves for war. Dante divided his forces between the worlds of Asphodex and Eros. Towards the end of the brutal campaign, Dante gathered together the Death Company in a single strike force for the assault on Tartarus, when needs demanded the world to be reclaimed. The Blood Angels launched a fearsome attack that tore a ragged hole in the siege beast swarm. Though the shock of the Blood Angels' assault was over, the Tyranids were far from broken. Soon the Death Company began to lose the battle. They were pushed back towards Tartarus's void domes, where their commander, Brother Chaplain Orofin, sought the controls to trigger the Magnovertrum. This archaic device was a huge solar reflector cradled in a network of Imperial machinery. The Catan shard, known as the Burning One, had poured some of its essence into the ancient device to burn away both the Tyranids and the human presence. The Necron host of Anrakir, the Traveler, had arrived in system and temporarily allied themselves with the Imperial forces in order to achieve their own mysterious aims. Though the Blood Angels' commander was justifiably doubtful about the Overlord's true intentions, he allowed the Necron Overlord to send the Catan to Tartarus to enact their plan to destroy the Tyranids. As the warriors of the Death Company faced their inevitable destruction, a beam of light thrusted down from the skies of Tartarus. Pure and constant in its glory, it was not the Primarch reborn, but the Sanguinor, a figure of legend. The Sanguinor fell upon the Tyranids, a vengeful angel come to aid his brothers. White wings spread wide, the Sanguinor swept through the Tyranid mists. With the eyes of the Death Company upon him, the Sanguinor beat his wings several times, rising once more above the monstrous swarm. Then he dived again, both hands on the hilt of his downward pointed blade. And so on it went. With a howl, the last few Death Company brothers hurled themselves upon the foe anew, inspired by the example of this shining angel, and reaping a bloody tally of the Xenos. The Tyranids charged mindlessly forward, the void dome forgotten as they attempted to ensnare their deadly new prey. Thus distracted, Orofin was finally able to locate his objective. Activating the Magnovertrum, the energy released from the fell device destroyed Eros. With the destruction of this world, the doom of the Cryptus system followed. While the hive mind had destroyed its cities and killed its people, the destruction of the gas giant was a catastrophe on an epic scale. The celestial landscape of an entire star system and the surrounding void would be changed forever. Following the end of the campaign, as Lord Commander Dante stood on the deck of the Blade of Vengeance, he wondered if the price this chapter had paid was too high. He wondered whether the Space Marines that remained would be enough. What more will it cost to save his chapter's homeworld? And what if, in the saving of Baal, the Blood Angels were destroyed? Had the damage done to the Tyranids been enough? These were the thoughts that wandered through Dante's mind as he watched his brothers return from the world below. Interrupting Dante's introspection, a cold wind rushed across the deck, and light flared from nothing. For the first time in many years, Dante beheld the Sanguinor, resplendent in sculpted golden armor, the mysterious warrior's face hidden behind a burnished mask that mirrored Dante's own. The Sanguinor made his way towards the chapter master, where two legends then stood face to face. Without speaking, Dante drew back his mask, showing the Sanguinor alone his face, and looked upon the blessed warrior with eyes untouched by lenses or filters. Finally, the question he knew he must ask came from Dante's lips, though it was but a whisper meant only for the ears of the Sanguinor. Was it enough? Can Baal still be saved? For long moments there was only silence, and Dante felt sure that there could be no answer. Then for the first time in the history of the Blood Angels, the Sanguinor spoke. There is yet hope. After sacrificing the shield worlds of the Cryptus system to fend off the Xenos' earliest advance on the Baal system, the planet of Baal itself came under intense attack by the High Fleet Leviathan. The Tyranid High Fleet was of such mass, even after its considerable losses, that it blotted the stars from the skies. Lord Commander Dante bolstered the formidable defenses of the Blood Angels' homeworld and its moons like never before. Not one to await attack, he also sent forth scores of preemptive strike forces to delay, mislead, and whittle down the living armada. Hundreds of splinter fleets were thus defeated. Dante's call for the Blood Angel successor chapter to send immediate aid to their parent chapter did not go unanswered. The Flesh Terrors were the first to arrive, and ultimately all the successor chapters except the Lamenters answered the call. Even the Knights of Blood, who had been declared excommunicate traitorous by the High Lords of Terra, arrived to bolster the defenses. It was still not enough. Learning at an exponential rate, High Fleet Leviathan cannot be thwarted by the same strategy twice, advancing steadily, their superior numbers clearing the entire surrounding sector of life before the Xenos made planetfall upon Baal and her twin moons. The first 19 waves, each larger than the last, were driven off at great loss to the Blood Angels and their successor allies. 5 chapter masters fell in the bitter fighting, 3 in the battle at the Dome of Angels alone. The Tyranids began the process of absorbing all the biomass from Baal and its moons, absorbing even the radiation-poisoned deserts of Baal Secundus. With their defenses in ruin, the Baal's moons stripped and broken, the remaining Space Marines retreated back to the rubble of the Blood Angels' sprawling fortress monastery. There, they prepared for the last stand as the next wave swept downward. Doom, it seemed, had last come to the sons of Sanguinius. It was then that the Great Rift cracked open the galaxy in the wake of the fall of Cadia to the 13th Black Crusade, and the withered Baal system was blasted by the etheric storm. Although no further attack waves came from the Leviathan High Fleet, not a single Imperial defender remained alive upon the last moon of Baal Prime. On Baal itself, there was already enough Tyranids there to destroy the Imperial troops many times over. Even with no chance of victory, Dante led his troops, each fighting retreat seemingly more helpless than the last. As the final perimeter was broken, the stars reappeared. Looking skyward, the Tyranids on the surface of Baal sought contact with their High Fleet, but it was gone, replaced by a newly arrived Imperial fleet. Like an angel of vengeance came Reboot Gilliman and his Indomitus crusade. After many more battles, Baal was finally cleared of the Xenos threat. A great rebuild of both worlds and chapter was undertaken, for the Blood Angels and their successors were sorely needed elsewhere in the beleaguered Imperium. What became of the Leviathan is a mystery, although a clue was found upon the now barren moon of Baal Prime. Xenos skulls were piled impossibly high in the much reviled 8-pillared symbol of one of the Blood Angels' most terrible and ancient nemesis, the Bloodthirster Kabanda, and his army of coronate demons. And those were 40 facts on the Blood Angels versus the Tyranids. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. This is one of the campaigns or a piece of the lore from the new stuff that came out that I really enjoy. The Indominus Crusade was a little the whole the fall of Cadia was and then the birth of the Eldar god was cool. But nothing compares to the Tyranids versus the Blood Angels and the last stand of the Tyranids. The Sanguinor coming back. Pretty much everything about this campaign, about this portion of the story, is really badass. Especially at the end, where you find out that Ka-Banda was actually, fighting the Tyranids, wanted those skulls, and in the process actually helped the Blood Angels, or the Sons of Sanguinius. And it's just cool that all the successor chapters, except the Lamenters, showed up, and they helped out, save the planet, or at least defend the planet. If you guys enjoy these videos, the campaign style videos, comment down below. Let me know what type of campaign you would like to hear about. If you have any suggestions of other topics of Warhammer 40k, please comment down below. We tally everything up. You guys have been giving us really good suggestions. We're kind of working on creating our own scripts, because there were a lot of suggestions that were really good, Horrible Realities of a Space Marine, which I really want to do. Horrible Realities of a Chaos Space Marine, which is also in the works. So there's a lot of stuff that we pick up on, a lot of suggestions that we pick up on. It's just that we haven't gotten, we haven't been able to write the scripts and actually perform. We fall back on these type of crusades because they're easier and they're quicker to put out. But if you guys like what we do and you want to see more from our channel, jump on over to Patreon. A simple $1 a month helps us create more videos, and you get some extra stuff, some extra videos along the way. If you can't, we understand. Simply by liking, commenting, and sharing, it helps out the channel. It tells YouTube, hey, I want to see more content, because you're hitting the little bell notification icon right next to subscribe. But you guys already know that if you've stayed this long within the video. Thank you for everything, and I'll see you tomorrow. This was Gersh1 with One Mind Syndicate, signing out.